Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk to you guys about why you need to follow your heart even if it makes you scared. So guys, your heart, your intuition, the voice of God, if you will, is something that we all experience whether we realize it or not, right? When it comes to our inner lives, it comes to our choice, whether it's a career, whether it's a place we want to live, whether it's a relationship that we want to get involved with, business, romantic, friendship, right? Whatever it is that we want to do or make a decision on, it's important that we follow through with it, right? So in my life, guys, there's been times where I've had to make tough decisions, right? And there's been times where I know that my intuition is right. And specifically, there's been multiple times where I've had to follow my gut, follow my intuition, and it's never let me down, right? In the short term, it may have been scary, right? Because, back in 2019, right, when I was in college, I was honestly depressed. I was sad. I was pissed off. I was addicted to porn, right? I was frustrated, angry, annoyed, sick. And I was like, you know what, man, like I can tell that this thing isn't for me, right? This is not going to be something that I want to be involved with for the next 4 years, right? So I made the decision halfway into my sophomore year to drop out, right? And, I had to weigh the cost of that, right? And, in my mind, right, I was like, your rational mind kicks in when you're about to make a tough decision, right? So my rational mind was like, dude, like if I drop out, what are my parents going to think of me, right? So that was a thought that would constantly be followed up with after, contemplating like dropping out. Like, what are my parents going to think of me, right? Are they going to not like me anymore? Are they going to kick me out of the house, right? So I had a lot of fear when it came to making that decision. And another thing as it relates to that was I also had like the thought of like, what am I going to do after this, right? Because it's scary, guys. When you don't have a set like thing you're going to do for a set period of time, like when you don't have anything like as it pertains to what you're going to do for a career or a business or a job, or as it relates to your education, when you don't have something that you're involved with, it can be very scary because you feel like you're on an island with nothing, right? And it's like an analogy, like if you're on an island, right, with no people, with no food, with no water, it's similar because it's like, you're out in the wasteland, right? You're by yourself. No one's telling you what to do. Your parents aren't waking you up for school, right? Your teachers aren't telling you what to do. You got to make the decision, right? And that's part of growing up. It's like once you get to a certain age, like no one's going to make decisions for you, right? And we're used to being told. The problem with school and work and having a boss and having teachers and having parents, it's not that they're bad people, right? Because you need them when you grow up, right? You need a little bit of instruction when you're in like your infancy, right, as to what's right, what's wrong, right? So the problem resides when we get to an age where we're old enough to make our own decisions, we're old enough to weigh the costs, weigh the pros and cons, and we sit there and we contemplate doing things, and we never do anything because the thing is like a lot of people, guys, are not used to taking risks and making decisions that have fearful consequences that could be like that could cause fear or cause you to be afraid, right? To lose money, to lose your friends, to lose your family, right? So our mind is always weighing the cost of things because we hold these things, whether we like them or not, as attachments, right? They're part of our current identity, right? So if you're in school and you're thinking about dropping out of school, right? Well, if you've been going for a year or two, right, and you've been doing it and it's a safe thing to do and you don't have any other plans as to what you will do when you drop out, it's going to be hard for you to make that decision, right? Because you have such a attachment to that part of your life, right? That's part of your identity, your current vocation, your current your current station in life, right? And it's the same thing, right? It's the same thing with like having a job, right? A lot of people want to leave their job, right? And they don't know what they're going to do. Like, oh, like, am I going to get hired by another job? Like, I don't know. Like, like what if I run out of money? What if my business doesn't take off right away? Or what if I, endless like rationalizations and endless what ifs that perpetrate your mind when you're contemplating doing something, right? And guys, I want to urge you to not obviously make dumb decisions, right? Obviously, you don't want to just quit your job or drop out of school or leave your parents' house without somewhat of a plan. But if as long as you have a plan, right? Whether you're able to see it through or not, if you're able to work a plan after you make a tough decision, whether it's, like I said, quit a job, leave your family, drop out of school, like there's obviously going to be fear. But if you're able to withstand the fear, if you're able to get through that tough period of leaving and letting go of that thing, right? Because that's really what it comes down to. If you're not able to sit there and let go, then it's gonna be hard. But as long as you have a plan to work whatever you're gonna work after your decision, right? So if you quit your job, right, if you've made that decision, right, and you tomorrow or the next day you work, you go into your job and you tell your boss, hey, I'm putting my 2 weeks in, right? You better at least have a little bit of savings, right? I'm not saying you gotta have like millions of dollars saved up, but hey man, you should have at least a year of living expenses so that, I'm not saying that you should always have a plan B, but if your business doesn't jump off right away, you're not, scrambling for money, scrambling for food, scrambling for rent. So I think it's important that as we get older, we start to make decisions even if we're fearful, right? Because the thing, I'll tell you this, a lot of the most successful people that had to make tough decisions, right? Some of the most successful people have dropped out of school. Some of the most successful people quit their jobs, right? And obviously there's examples of the opposite too. So I'm not saying that everyone who quits their job becomes successful or everyone who drops out of school becomes a somebody. But, for the most part, I would say that if you have a plan and you're able to follow through with your plan, then dude, you got to just follow your heart. You got to follow your intuition, because one thing that you don't want to live with is knowing every single day that you're alive, that you're not living up to what God intended for you, right? Because we all have talents, we all have different things that we're good at, and the problem is that we procrastinate, we contemplate, we overthink too much about what we're gonna do instead of just doing it, right? I just made a video the other day urging you guys to just do the thing that you want to start, right? And one thing I will say is, as it pertains to your intuition, your heart, your gut, what you're designed to do, God makes things obvious, right? God reveals things in a way that is obvious so that you don't really have like a question about it, right? Now, obviously your rational mind, your hindbrain is going to try to keep you alive. So obviously there's going to be fear, but when you are constantly getting the sense that you need to quit your job, you need to leave school, you need to move out of your parents' house, you need to move out of your hometown, whatever big decision that you feel like you need to make, right? It's God telling you that like you need to do that, right? And most of the time, right, I can say that every big decision I made up until this point in my life, I'm 24 years old, has been the right decision, right? So my heart, my intuition, God, if you will, doesn't lie to you, right? God's not going to tell you to do something that won't have somewhat of a positive outcome in the near future, right? Now, me moving to Florida had a great outcome. I met some people that have been helpful to me, right? Dropping out of school has been the best thing I've ever done. It forced me to get into investing, get into crypto, to learn about YouTube, to learn about speaking, right? So everything that I've done up until this point, every decision that I've made up until now has led me to this point to where now I can come on here, I can speak to you guys, I can help you guys figure things out for your life, right? And like I said, this whole video is centered on making tough decisions and, listening to your heart. And I promise you guys, if you're fearful, if you're worried, if you've never made like a tough decision, if you've kind of just been you know, you just followed what your teachers have told you, you followed what your parents have told you, you followed, you know, your superiors, in the sense that, you know, you've listened to everything up until up until this point, what they've told you to do. You've went to school, you've went to college, right? You've stayed at home, you've got a job, but you're not satisfied with some of these things. It's okay to make decisions that counteract what people tell you to do, because to be honest, guys, no one knows you like you know yourself, right? You're with yourself every single part of the day, right? So you know what you want to do, you know your talents, you know your strengths, your abilities, and the only person who's going to be able to make the decision, right, later in life as you get to be an adult is you. Because quite frankly, guys, no one cares what you do in life, right? We always tend to think that people are watching us, people are observing us, and people really care what you do. But once you get to a certain age, guys, once you get out of high school, once you get out of college, right, and once you move out, you get away from your parents, you get away from society, right, and society's ways of operating. Once you get away from that, you start to realize, like, hey, you're in full control of what you can do in this life, right? Now, obviously you need to follow certain things to get good at the thing that you want to do, but you know, that's a whole different topic. The main point is that I want you guys to look at where you're at in life right now, understand that if there's something that's been on your mind, if there's something that's been bothering you and you feel like you need to make a change, whether it's, like I said, a job, leaving a job, maybe it's starting a YouTube channel, maybe it's leaving school, maybe it's going to school, right? Whatever it is that you feel like you need to do and make a decision on, and you feel like your gut is telling you to do, I'm not saying you got to do the thing tomorrow, right? Or quit your job the next day you watch this, after you watch this video, but you got to really understand, weigh the costs, weigh the pros and cons, and then just jump, right? Because let's use the example, quitting a job, right? I'll finish off with this little kind of scenario, right? If you quit your job, right, the main thing most people worry about, or your parents would urge you to do, is, do you have enough money saved up, right? Do you have enough money saved up? And then the second thing is usually, do you have another job that you can get, right? That's typically what your parents and everyone else is concerned with, right? So if you're able to understand, right, that whatever you do as it pertains to quitting your job, you have something else that you can do, whether it's a YouTube channel, whether it's Uber, whether it's just any sort of job that can produce income, and you have a lot of savings, then you can live with the result. You can live with that outcome, right? Now, quitting your job with no money in the bank, right? Quitting your job without another plan to make money, now that's a different story, right? You might not be able to do that. So if it makes sense, right, even if it doesn't necessarily give you a super huge benefit in the short term as it pertains to your income, right? Because if you quit your job, right, you know, you might have to downgrade to a job that doesn't pay as much, but just keeps you going, right? Keeps you, keeps your necessities. It allows you to afford your necessities. But if you're able to get by and pursue the thing fully that you want to do, then it's a win-win situation, right? And like I said, once you get to a certain age, it's got to be you who makes a decision, right? I'm 25 years old. I don't expect anyone to care what I do, right? It's all up to me at this point. So yeah, guys, that's it. That's all. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. If you guys have any questions, comments, feel free to leave them down below. And as always, I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.